Dr. Elizabeth Morgan wiped the sweat from her brow as the Egyptian sun beat down mercilessly on her research site. The quantum resonance scanner hummed softly beside her, its holographic display casting a soft blue glow across her sun-tanned face. She had chosen this remote location, miles from the tourist-packed pyramids of Giza, based on nothing more than a hunch and 3 years of rejected research proposals. "Another dead end, Doctor," called out her research assistant, Mike Thompson, from the shade of their mobile lab. His voice carried a note of resignation that had become all too familiar over the past few weeks. Elizabeth ignored him, focusing instead on the subtle variations in the scanner's reading. There was something different here, something that made her fingers tingle with anticipation. The energy signature didn't match anything they'd seen at other archaeological sites. It was too orderly, too precise. "Mike, are you seeing this?" she called out, her voice tight with excitement. "The quantum harmonics are actually in phase this time." The young assistant emerged from his haven of shade, tablet in hand, his previous skepticism forgotten as numbers began streaming across his screen. That's impossible," he muttered, frantically cross-referencing the data. "These patterns suggest some kind of artificial quantum containment field, but that would mean someone was manipulating quantum fields thousands of years ago." Elizabeth finished, a smile playing across her face, "and doing it better than we can even today." The familiar sound of an approaching transport ship made them both look up. Right on schedule, the Galactic Council's weekly oversight committee had arrived. The sleek vessel, all chrome and clean lines, landed with barely a whisper on the desert sand, looking comically out of place among their dusty equipment and sand-worn tents. 3 figures emerged: a tall, willowy Arcturian with iridescent skin, a stocky Rigelian whose environmental suit hummed with cooling systems, and their latest supervisor, a particularly condescending Centaurian named Salthor. "Dr. Morgan." Salthor's translator rendered his complex harmonics into English, though it couldn't quite hide the patronizing tone. "I trust you have something more substantial to report than last week's. What did you call them? Quantum echoes of ancient construction techniques." Elizabeth straightened, meeting his 3-eyed gaze steadily. "Actually, yes." She gestured to the scanner display. "We've detected a coherent quantum signature approximately 30 meters below the surface. The pattern suggests impossible." The Arcturian cut in, her crystalline voice chiming with amusement. "Your species barely achieved spaceflight a century ago. The idea that your ancestors could have mastered quantum engineering is quaint." Mike stepped forward, his young face flushed with indignation, but Elizabeth held up a hand to stop him. She'd played this game before. "The data speaks for itself," she said calmly, transferring the readings to their advanced tablets. "I'd be very interested in your expert analysis of these phase alignments." The 3 aliens huddled around their devices, their dismissive attitudes gradually shifting to confusion, then concern. The Rigelian was the first to speak, his environment suit's cooling system working overtime. "These readings, they're similar to the stasis technology used in the Gamma Quadrant, but the complexity is orders of magnitude greater." "Clearly a malfunction," Salthor declared, though his middle eye twitched nervously. "Your primitive equipment must be interfering with our sensors." Elizabeth bit back a sharp reply. "Then you won't object to us continuing our investigation, since it's clearly just faulty equipment." The aliens exchanged glances, a silent conversation passing between them. Finally, Salthor nodded. "You may proceed with your research. We will continue to monitor your progress, of course, for your own safety." As the transport ship lifted off, disappearing into the burning sky, Mike let out a low whistle. "They're scared," he said, wonder in his voice. "They're actually scared." Elizabeth watched the quantum readings pulse in perfect, impossible synchronization. "They should be," She murmured, more to herself than to Mike. Because either every scientific principle they've taught us is wrong, or something down there is very much awake. And getting stronger. Jack Reynolds had always been told his curiosity would get him into trouble. As he stood in the dim light of the mobile lab, watching energy readings spiral out of control across multiple screens, he realized just how right everyone had been. "Dr. Morgan," he called out, his voice cracking. "I think you need to see this." The sun had set over the Egyptian desert, but the research team was still hard at work. Elizabeth Morgan burst through the lab's door, her hair disheveled from hours of cross-referencing ancient texts with their recent discoveries. One look at the displays made her stop dead in her tracks. "What did you do?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Jack's fingers flew over the holographic controls. "I was just trying to enhance the signal resolution. I thought if we could get a clearer picture of the quantum harmonics, we might be able to." "You initiated a feedback loop," Elizabeth cut him off, pushing him aside to access the main console. "The energy signature isn't just growing, it's replicating." The lab's displays showed a growing web of light spreading across a global map. What had started as a single point in Egypt was now connecting to similar sites worldwide. Each new connection burned like a star on their screens. "That's impossible," Jack breathed. "These readings suggest the sites are communicating with each other, but the energy required to." A deep rumble cut him off, making the equipment rattle. Outside, the desert sand began to shift and dance. Elizabeth's tablet chimed with an incoming priority message. The holographic form of Salthor appeared, all three eyes wide with panic. "What have you done?" The alien's translator could barely keep up with his agitated harmonics. "Our orbital sensors are detecting quantum disturbances at archaeological sites across your planet. We're tracking it now," Elizabeth replied, fighting to keep her voice steady. "If we can just..." The pattern. The Rigelian observer cut in, his image appearing alongside Xalthor's. "Dr. Morgan, please tell me you don't see the pattern." Elizabeth looked at the global map again. The connected sites were no longer random points of light. They formed an intricate geometric shape that seemed to pulse with its own rhythm, like a giant circuit coming to life. "I see it," she confirmed, her scientific mind racing to process the implications. "But I don't understand what it means." The Arcturian observer's crystal-tone voice joined the conversation. "It's a key, Dr. Morgan. A key that was never meant to be turned." New alarms began blaring as energy levels spiked across all sites simultaneously. The ground's trembling intensified. And in the distance, a column of blue light shot into the night sky. "Shut it down," Xalthor demanded. "You must shut it down now." "I can't," Jack said, his face pale in the glow of the screens. "The process is self-sustaining. Whatever we've started, it's beyond our control now." Elizabeth watched as similar columns of light began appearing on their global feed, first in Greece, then China, Mexico, and beyond. Each new beam seemed to strengthen the others, creating a network of energy that was visible even from space. "The Council is convening an emergency session," Xalthor announced, his voice heavy with dread. "We should have never allowed this research to continue. Your species has no idea what forces you're dealing with." As if in response to his words, the ground gave one final, massive heave. The sand beneath their mobile lab began to sink, revealing the edge of something massive and metal that had been hidden for millennia. "Maybe we don't," Elizabeth said, watching as ancient symbols began to glow along the exposed surface. "But I think we're about to find out." She could only hope that whatever they'd awakened was as interested in humanity's survival as she was. Because right now, watching the sky fill with light and the desert reveal its ancient secrets, she had a feeling there would be no going back to the way things were. The world held its breath as the first stasis pod breached the surface of the Egyptian desert. Elizabeth Morgan, and Jack Reynolds stood transfixed as ancient metal, untouched by millennia of burial, gleamed like new under the column of blue light. Steam hissed from receding panels, revealing a chamber that defied everything they thought they knew about history. "My God," Jack whispered, his tablet forgotten in his hands. "That's not bronze or iron. That's something else entirely." Before Elizabeth could respond, the pod's surface rippled like liquid mercury. A figure rose from within. Tall and imposing and armored, it seemed to shift between solid and energy with each movement. The warrior's helmet retracted like living metal, revealing the face of a man who could have walked the streets of ancient Thebes. He spoke, his voice deep and clear, in perfect modern English. "I am Amenhotep, shield of the Star Pharaohs. The awakening protocol has been initiated." Across the globe, similar scenes were playing out. News feeds flooded with images from every continent. In Greece, a Spartan warrior emerged from Mount Olympus, her spear crackling with plasma energy that made modern weapons look like children's toys. Near the Great Wall of China, a dynasty general rose from his ancient tomb, his armor generating a force field that modern sensors couldn't even classify. The Galactic Council's representatives watched in horror as their worst fears were realized. These weren't simple soldiers. They were walking proof that Earth's history was far more complex than anyone had imagined. "How is this possible?" Jack asked, as Amenhotep strode toward them, each step leaving faint energy traces in the sand. "How can you speak our language?" "Neural quantum integration," the ancient warrior replied, his eyes holding wisdom that spanned ages. "Our stasis pods weren't just preserving our bodies. They were keeping us connected to the world, learning and adapting even as we slept." Elizabeth's scientific mind raced to process the implications. "The energy signatures we detected, they were your consciousness, weren't they? Actively monitoring our development?" Amenhotep nodded, a slight smile playing at his lips. "We had to be sure humanity would be ready when the time came." Though he glanced at their equipment, it seems the awakening was triggered somewhat prematurely. A thunderous sound drew their attention skyward. The Galactic Council's ships were entering the atmosphere in force now, their presence no longer hidden behind diplomatic pretense. Zolfor's voice boomed across the desert through external speakers. "By authority of the Galactic Council, this site is now under quarantine. All human personnel must evacuate immediately." Amenhotep's response was subtle but immediate. He raised his hand, and a shimmer of energy spread across the sky like a ripple in a pond. The council ships suddenly found themselves unable to approach any closer, held back by technology that their sensors couldn't even begin to analyze. "Your council has no authority here," Amenhotep stated calmly. "Earth has always been protected by forces far beyond your understanding." Around the globe, other warriors were taking similar action. The Spartan's spear could generate electromagnetic pulses that disabled any hostile technology. The Chinese general's ancient wisdom, combined with quantum computing, made modern military strategy look like amateur chess moves. Elizabeth watched in awe as more warriors emerged from their pods, each bringing with them technologies that rewrote the rules of physics as she knew them. "What happens now?" she asked, her voice barely audible over the hum of ancient power coming to life. Amenhotep turned to her, his eyes reflecting the blue light that still streamed into the sky. "Now, Dr. Morgan, we fulfill our purpose. We were left here not just to protect Earth, but to guide it when the time was right. Your accidental awakening signal suggests that time has come earlier than expected, but we will adapt. We always have." In the distance, more pods were rising from the desert, each one containing a warrior who had sacrificed their own time to ensure humanity's future. The age of secrets was ending, and the true history of Earth was about to be revealed. Inside the ancient command center, now exposed beneath the Egyptian sands, Elizabeth Morgan and Jack Reynolds watched in awe as Amenhotep activated a holographic archive that made their modern technology look like child's play. The walls around them hummed with power that had laid dormant for millennia, while representatives from the Galactic Council shifted uncomfortably near the room's entrance. "Your history books speak of pyramids as tombs," Amenhotep said, his hands dancing through the holographic controls. "In truth, they were power nodes in a planetary defense network that spanned every ancient civilization on Earth." The air above them erupted into a three-dimensional star map, showing Earth at the center of what appeared to be a vast interstellar empire. Jack's mouth fell open as he recognized familiar star systems, but with unfamiliar structures and travel routes between them. 10,000 years ago, Amenhotep continued, Earth was not just another planet. It was the heart of the Federation of Allied Worlds, a civilization that had mastered both the physical and quantum realms. The hologram shifted, showing massive space stations and ships that dwarfed even the largest vessels in the current Galactic Council's fleet. Zalthor made a sound that his translator couldn't process, something between fear and disbelief. "Impossible," the Arcturian observer whispered, her crystalline form reflecting the ancient holograms. "Our archaeological surveys show no evidence of such technology." A new voice joined the conversation as Helena, the awakened Spartan warrior, strode into the room. Her plasma spear hummed with barely contained energy. "That was by design," she said, her ancient Greek accent mixing with perfect modern English. "When the darkness came, we made sure nothing remained to be found." The hologram changed again, showing a massive dark mass moving between the stars, consuming everything in its path. Elizabeth felt a chill run down her spine as she watched entire solar systems go dark. "We called it the Void," Amenhotep explained, his voice heavy with ancient memory. "It was unlike anything we had encountered, not a species or an empire, but something that devoured both energy and consciousness itself. Our most advanced weapons couldn't stop it." "So what did you do?" Jack asked, unable to take his eyes off the horrific display. "We made a choice," Helena answered, stepping forward to join Amenhotep at the controls. "Rather than watch our civilization fall, we enacted the Great Sleep Protocol. Earth's most advanced warriors and scientists would enter quantum stasis, while our people returned to a simpler way of life." The hologram showed the construction of the stasis pods, the careful placement of power nodes disguised as ancient monuments, and the deliberate dismantling of advanced technology. "We became your ancestors," Amenhotep said softly. "We chose to begin again, to let humanity evolve once more, knowing that our warriors would sleep beneath the earth, ready to awaken when needed." Elizabeth's mind raced with the implications, the ancient myths, the stories of gods and heroes with impossible powers. "Fragments of memory," Helena confirmed. "Stories passed down through generations, keeping the truth alive in the form of legends." Suddenly, the command center's alarms began to blare. A new hologram appeared, showing a massive fleet of council ships entering the solar system. "They're coming to contain the situation," Zalthor said, his three eyes blinking rapidly. "The council will not risk the return of an ancient power they don't understand." Amenhotep and Helena exchanged looks that spoke of millennia of shared purpose. "They don't realize," Helena said, a grim smile on her face, "that they're about to make the same mistake our ancient enemies made, underestimating humanity's will to survive." The command center hummed with increasing power as more warriors around the globe activated their ancient systems. Elizabeth watched as the star map updated in real time, showing defense networks she never knew existed springing to life. "Dr. Morgan," Amenhotep said, turning to face her, "your accidental discovery has started something that cannot be stopped. The question is, are you ready to help us protect Earth once again?" Elizabeth looked at Jack, then at the approaching fleet, and finally at these warriors from her planet's hidden past. The choice, she realized, had already been made the moment she had first detected those quantum signals in the desert sand. The emergency session of the Galactic Council played out on the command center's holographic displays, like a theater of chaos. Elizabeth Morgan watched as species she'd never seen before argued over Earth's fate, their translators struggling to keep up with the frenzied debate. The human world must be contained. Admiral Crixus of the Drachnid Empire roared, his scaled face filling the display. We cannot allow these primitive beings to access technology that predates our own civilizations. Jack Reynolds, still processing everything they'd learned, leaned close to Elizabeth. Primitive beings who just happened to be running an interstellar federation when their species were still fighting over rocks, he whispered, drawing a slight smile from his mentor. Amenhotep stood silent, his ancient armor shifting like liquid metal as he studied the tactical displays. The Drachnid fleet had already crossed Jupiter's orbit, leading a coalition of the Council's most militant species. Behind them, a second wave of ships waited near Saturn, their weapons primed. They fear what they don't understand, Helena observed, her plasma spear casting a blue glow across the command center. Just as the void once fed on that fear. The mention of the ancient enemy sent a shiver through the room. The holographic archives had shown them glimpses of that horror, a darkness between the stars that had forced Earth's ancient civilization to hide its power and sleep through the ages. Zalfor, who had chosen to remain with them rather than return to the Council, stepped forward. "You don't understand the forces you're provoking," he said, all three eyes fixed on the approaching fleet. "The Drachnids will not stop until they've either controlled or destroyed your world." "No," Elizabeth said, finally finding her voice. "It's the Council that doesn't understand. These warriors didn't sleep for 10,000 years, just to surrender the first time someone points a fleet at Earth." As if in response to her words, new alerts began flashing across the tactical displays. Around the globe, more stasis pods were activating. From the depths of the Amazon emerged a Mayan queen whose neural interface could control swarms of quantum-linked drones. Beneath the ice of Antarctica, a Viking warrior awoke with the power to manipulate gravitational fields. "The Great Sleep was never about hiding," Amenhotep said, his voice carrying the weight of millennia. "It was about ensuring we would be here. With technology, the void could not corrupt when humanity needed us most." The command center's systems suddenly blazed with activity as the Drachnid fleet launched its first attack. A barrage of energy weapons powerful enough to crack a planet's crust streaked toward Earth. Helena smiled, the expression both beautiful and terrible. "They still think this is about weapons," she said, placing her hand on a control panel that hummed with ancient power. "Show them what the pyramid network can really do." Around the globe, Earth's ancient monuments began to glow. The pyramids of Giza, the temples of Angkor Wat, the stone circles of Britain. All of them pulsed with energy that had waited patiently through the ages. The Drachnid weapons fire simply vanished, absorbed into a planetary shield that operated on principles modern science had yet to discover. "Impossible," Admiral Crixus bellowed, his translation feed crackling with rage. "No planetary defense could. This is your only warning." Amenhotep's voice cut through the channel, broadcasting to every ship in the fleet. "Earth is protected by powers you cannot comprehend. Your weapons cannot harm us. Your technology cannot breach our defenses. Return to your worlds and tell the Council that the children of Earth are under the protection of their ancestors." Elizabeth watched as the tactical display updated, showing more ancient systems coming online across the planet. Each one represented a piece of history hidden in plain sight, waiting for this moment. "Dr. Morgan," Jack said, his voice tight with tension, "what do we do if they don't back down?" She looked at the ancient warriors around her, at the technology that bridged past and present, and at the stars where both humanity's greatest threats and greatest achievements waited. "We show them," she said finally, "why Earth's history is full of stories about gods and heroes who could shake the heavens themselves." Elizabeth Morgan's modern laboratory had become an unlikely fusion of past and present. Ancient quantum computers hummed alongside modern servers, while holographic displays showed both current satellite data and star charts that predated written history. But it was the people working within this technological maze that truly bridged the ages. Marcus Augustus, the awakened Roman tactician, stood before a sprawling holographic map of the solar system, his quantum-enhanced armor reflecting the blue light of the displays. "The Drachnid fleet is regrouping near Mars," he observed, his military mind already calculating possibilities. "Their formation suggests they're planning something more subtle than their initial attack." "They're adapting," Jack Reynolds said, working at a console where modern code merged with ancient programming languages. After the pyramid network absorbed their first strike, they realized brute force won't work. Across the room, Kenzo, the awakened samurai master, meditated before a bank of quantum sensors. His understanding of atomic structure had already helped them refine the ancient defense systems, making them more efficient than ever. "The council is divided," Zalthor reported, his three eyes scanning multiple data feeds. Since choosing to aid Earth, the former council observer had become an invaluable source of intelligence. "Several species are questioning the Drachnid's aggressive stance, particularly after your display of defensive capabilities." Elizabeth watched as Marcus and Kenzo exchanged a knowing look. The ancient warriors had been working together seamlessly, their different historical backgrounds united by a common purpose that transcended time. "Show them the quantum resonance pattern," Marcus called to Jack. The young assistant's fingers flew over his keyboard, and a new display materialized in the center of the room. It showed an intricate web of energy connecting all of Earth's ancient sites, but now modern power grids and communication networks had been integrated into the pattern. "Remarkable," Kenzo said, rising from his meditation. "The synthesis is more complete than we could have hoped. Modern technology isn't just compatible with our ancient systems, it's enhancing them." Elizabeth stepped forward, her scientific curiosity burning. "The quantum fields are actually stronger when they interact with current infrastructure. It's as if this was always the plan," a new voice said. They turned to see Amara, the awakened Mayan queen, enter the laboratory. Her neural interface crown sparkled with living energy as she joined them at the display. "Our civilization didn't just go to sleep. We planted seeds for the future." Suddenly, the lab's security systems flashed a warning. A small ship had broken through the atmosphere, evading both modern radar and ancient sensors. Before anyone could react, a message came through on a frequency that even the ancient systems barely detected. "We come seeking sanctuary," a voice transmitted. "We are representatives of the Aldebarani Science Council. We've seen your true history in the ancient records. We want to help." Jack's hands flew over his console. They're being pursued by Drachnid interceptors. 2 minutes until they're in weapons range. Marcus stepped forward, his tactical mind already formulating a plan. "The Aldebarani are known for their quantum physics research, if they're genuine." "They are," Zalthor confirmed, his translator struggling to convey his excitement. The Aldebarani were always skeptical of the Council's official history. They'd been conducting their own archaeological studies for centuries. Elizabeth looked to the ancient warriors, seeing the weight of decision in their eyes. This wasn't just about protecting Earth anymore. It was about choosing who to trust with their reborn civilization's future. "Activate the quantum corridor," Kenzo said finally. "Guide them to the landing site near Mount Fuji. My warriors there will ensure their safety." As the ancient defense systems sprang into action, creating a protected path for the Aldebarani ship, Elizabeth realized they'd crossed another threshold. Earth wasn't just defending itself. It was beginning to reshape the galaxy's power structure, one alliance at a time. "Dr. Morgan," Marcus said, a hint of a smile playing at his lips, "I believe it's time to show our new allies what happens when ancient wisdom truly merges with modern innovation." The Drachnid fleet filled the holographic display like a storm of metal and energy, their ships blotting out the stars as they approached Earth's orbit. Admiral Crixus had committed every vessel at his command, creating what he called the greatest containment fleet in Council history. 5 minutes until they enter weapons range, Jack announced from his station, where Aldebarani scientists now worked alongside him, their advanced quantum knowledge seamlessly merging with Earth's ancient systems. Elizabeth watched as Marcus Augustus and Kenzo exchanged knowing looks. The past week had seen their defense plans evolve into something neither the ancient warriors nor modern humanity could have created alone. "Begin the synchronization," Marcus commanded, his armor shifting like liquid metal as he stepped onto the central platform. Around the globe, other warriors did the same, each taking their position in what they called the Unity Protocol. Amenhotep's voice came through the command network. "All ancient sites report ready. The pyramid network is at full power." Helena's confirmation followed. Quantum grid stabilized. Modern power systems successfully integrated. Amara added, "Neural network online. Drone swarms await coordination." The Drachnid fleet launched their first wave. Not energy weapons this time, but something far more insidious. Clouds of microscopic machines designed to disable both modern and ancient technology approach Earth's atmosphere. "They think they've found our weakness," Elizabeth said, understanding dawning in her eyes. "They don't realize this is exactly what we planned for." Jack's fingers flew across his console, activating quantum resonance field now. The Unity Protocol sprang to life. Each ancient warrior became a living conduit, their advanced technology harmonizing with modern systems in ways that defied contemporary physics. The pyramid network pulsed with power, but instead of creating a shield, it did something unprecedented. "Now, Dr. Morgan," Marcus called out, "show them what true unity looks like." Elizabeth activated the sequence they'd developed together. Ancient wisdom combined with modern innovation. The nanic cloud suddenly stopped, then began to swirl in new patterns as Earth's combined technology took control. "Impossible." Admiral Crixus's voice boomed through the communication channels. "Those machines are quantum-locked to our control." "You still don't understand," Elizabeth responded, unable to keep the pride from her voice. "We're not just defending against your technology. We're evolving beyond it." The demonstration continued as Earth's defense system revealed its true nature. The ancient warriors had never intended to simply fight off attackers. They had created a way to transform hostile technology into something new. Around the planet, the seized nanites began constructing new structures in orbit. Not weapons, but something the galaxy had never seen. A network of quantum enhancement nodes that would allow Earth to share its combined knowledge safely with other worlds. "By the first stars," one of the Aldebarani scientists whispered, "they've created a technology that doesn't just destroy or defend. It uplifts." The Drachnid fleet halted its advance, their sensors overwhelmed by what they were witnessing. Humanity had not just combined past and present, they had transcended both to create something entirely new. "Final warning, Admiral Crixus," Marcus transmitted, his voice carrying the weight of millennia of human evolution. "You can either be part of the future we're building, or you can watch it unfold without you. The choice is yours." The command center fell silent as they waited for the response. The Drachnid fleet hung in space, their weapons still armed, but their purpose now uncertain. They had come expecting to contain a threat, only to find themselves faced with an opportunity instead. Elizabeth looked around at the unlikely alliance they'd formed. Ancient warriors, modern scientists, and alien allies all working together. Whatever came next, she knew that humanity had already achieved something greater than victory in battle. They had proven that their greatest strength wasn't in their ancient technology or modern innovation, but in their ability to bridge the gap between past and future, between different species and civilizations, between war and peace. 6 months after the Drachnid fleet's retreat, the Great Pyramid of Giza had been transformed into something that bridged ancient glory and modern purpose. Its limestone surface now pulsed with subtle energy as it served as both a power node and the site of the first galactic conclave. Elizabeth Morgan stood before the assembled representatives of 20 different species, her scientific credentials now including the title Ambassador of Earth's Combined Knowledge. Beside her, Jack Reynolds managed the holographic displays that showed their progress to the gathered audience. The integration of ancient and modern technologies has exceeded all projections, she explained, as the display showed the network of quantum enhancement nodes orbiting Earth. But more importantly, we've proven that advancement doesn't have to come at the cost of conflict. Amenhotep, now the head of Earth's Guardian Council, stepped forward. His armor had evolved, much like their civilization, into something that represented both heritage and progress. The Star Guardians program is now ready to accept its first non-Earth members, he announced, causing a stir among the gathered diplomats. In the audience, Admiral Crixus sat quietly, his scaled features showing a new respect that had been hard-won. The Drachnid Empire had been among the first to accept Earth's offer of technological exchange, their military prowess finding new purpose in protecting the growing network of allied worlds. Our ancient warriors never intended to sleep forever, Helena added, her plasma spear now modified to serve as a tool of construction, as much as defense. We waited for the moment when humanity would need not just our technology, but our experience in uniting different peoples under a common purpose. A holographic display shifted to show the latest achievement, a quantum communication network that allowed instant exchange of knowledge and culture between worlds. The Aldebarani scientists who had first defected to Earth had helped perfect it, their understanding of quantum physics enhanced by ancient wisdom. "But what of the void?" asked the Arcturian representative, her crystalline form reflecting the pyramid's energy. "If it once threatened even your advanced civilization." Marcus Augustus stepped forward, his tactical expertise now focused on prevention rather than war. "The void fed on division and fear," he explained. "By creating a network of united civilizations, we're building something it could never corrupt. A galaxy bound together by understanding rather than power." Jack brought up the next display, showing the training facilities where modern humans and ancient warriors worked together to teach new guardians from various species. Kenzo had taken a leading role there, his martial philosophy adapting to include students from worlds humanity had never dreamed of meeting. "We don't just teach combat," Kenzo said, his ancient wisdom finding new expression. "We teach unity, adaptation, and the art of finding strength in our differences." Elizabeth watched as Amara demonstrated the latest evolution of her neural interface technology, now a means of sharing experiences and understanding across species barriers. The Mayan queen had found her true calling in breaking down the walls between different forms of consciousness. Earth is no longer just a protected world, Elizabeth concluded, looking out at the assembled representatives. "We're offering to share everything we've learned, both ancient and modern, but with a condition. Knowledge must be used to unite, not divide, to protect, not conquer." The pyramid's energy pulsed in harmony with the orbiting network as treaties were signed and new alliances formed. What had started as a scientific miscalculation had led to something greater than anyone could have imagined. Later, standing under the stars with Jack, Elizabeth reflected on their journey. "Did you ever think your accident would lead to all this?" she asked. Jack smiled, watching as a group of alien students followed Kenzo through a training exercise, their movements blending different species' natural abilities with ancient Earth techniques. Maybe it wasn't really an accident, he suggested. Maybe the universe just knew it was time for everyone to wake up. Above them, the night sky sparkled with both stars and the lights of visiting ships, each one representing a world that had chosen to join Earth's new vision for the galaxy. The ancient warriors had protected their world through the ages, but their greatest achievement wasn't in sleeping through time. It was in teaching the galaxy how to move forward together.